Rasulil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask him send peace and blessing his beloved and our beloved Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Continuing in the chapter of Salat, now we're talking about miscellaneous prayers or irregular prayers that don't occur so often, but they're there. And just before we get to the chapter of Janazah, and Janazah, the connection between Salat and Janazah is, of course, Salat is a dua. It's not a Salat with the ruku and sajda, but it's Salat. Janazah means a dua for the mayyit that's connected always to, it comes after the different types of prayers. So the chapter we're covering the Eclipse prayer and also the rain prayer, the riwayat in Imam Malik's Muwatta. Alright, the description of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's praying the Salat, the Eclipse prayer. Imam Malik narrated from Hisham bin Urwa, who narrated from his father, who narrated from Aisha, the wife of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that she said that the sun eclipsed in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then he prayed with the people, and he prayed a very long qiyam. The standing was very long, where you read surah, the Fatiha and surah. Then he made ruku', he bowed, and then he extended that ruku'. It was very long. Then he stood up and then he extended the qiyam again, and it was lesser than the first qiyam, the first standing, the first time he stood. Then he made another ruku', and then he made this very long, it was a very long ruku', but it was shorter than the first ruku'. So this is the distinction between like a normal prayer. There's multiple rukus according to some. Others say no, this was, the person mentioned this, as a Hanafi says, it's like he prayed a very long salat. Then he lifted his head, he made sajda, then he did same thing in the second rakat, meaning that he made one ruku', qiyam, then another ruku', then a qiyam again, then he made another ruku'. And then when the sun had disappeared, then he made a khutbah to the people, praise Allah, and extolled him, his praises. And then he said that indeed the sun and the moon are signs from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do not become eclipsed because of the death of anybody, nor because of the life of anybody. If you see that, then make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make takbir, like praise, magnify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and give charity. There's another very similar narration. Imam Malik has also narrated from Zayd bin Aslam, who narrated from Ata bin Yasar, from Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhuma, that he said the sun eclipsed in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu prayed with the people, and he stood a very long qiyam, and like the likes of Surah Baqarah. And remember that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's reading Surah Baqarah is not like our reading Surah Baqarah. Right? So then he made ruku', a very long ruku'. Then he lifted his head up, a very long standing again, lesser than the first one. And then he made ruku', a very long ruku', but lesser than the first one. Then he made sajda, and then he stood up for a very long standing, but which was lesser than what was before. Like the whole qiyam in the first rak'ah, the second one was shorter than that. Then he made a ruku', a very long ruku', that was lesser than the first ruku'. And then he lifted his, stood up, and he made a qiyam, very long, less than, then he made ruku' again, and it was less than the previous one. Then he made sajda, and then he turned around, and the sun had, the eclipse had ended. The sun was exposed, it came out open. And then Rasulullah ﷺ said, indeed the sun, the moon and the sun, they are signs from the signs of Allah. They do not eclipse on the death of anybody nor the life of anybody. If you see that, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he said, Rasulullah, they said, we saw you reaching out for something. Then he said, Rasulullah ﷺ said, I saw the grapes, a bunch of grapes of Jannah, and I reach out to it. If I had taken it, that you would eat in it and it will continue. As long as the dunya is there, you would have been eating from that bunch of grapes, it will never finish. And I saw the fire of Jahannam, and I have never seen a more frightening scene. Lam ara kal yawm manzaran qat afdal. I've never seen a more frightening scene than that scene. And I saw that the majority of its denizens of people are women. And then he said, Lima ya Rasulullah, why ya Rasulullah, why are these women in Jahannam? He said, he sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, because of their ungratefulness. He goes, and he was said to Rasulullah, because of the ungratefulness of Allah. He said, because of their ungratefulness to their husbands, they are ungrateful for their ihsan. Even if he was kind to them, even if you're kind to them for their whole life, and they saw something in you, like a flaw or mistake in you, they'll say, قالت ما رأيت منك خيرا قط. They'll say, even they see the whole life of goodness, they'll say, I never seen any good from you. One of the ulama from South Africa is saying she will will point. Sorry, sisters, if you're listening, but he said she'll point with the gold bangles on that you have given her. I've never seen any comfort with you. But anyway, qultu Allah subhanahu. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving a heads up. Like this could be seen as a criticism, or it can be seen as an advice. That it's advice for the sisters that to avoid this mistake. Each one of us, the men can make big mistakes as well. They're responsible for certain things, but this one thing they can avoid. Rasulullah giving a warning. It's not. You should take it as a constructive criticism, and said, all right, I need to avoid this sin to avoid the fire of Jahannam. Very simple. Don't start a lecture on women's rights and so forth. And no, take the advice and just fix. Don't do this action. Simple. Move on. We got other things to worry about. We got to try to get the Jannah, save ourselves from Jahannam. Inshallah ta'ala bidnillah. One person called me today regarding some marriage matter. He wants to get married. The father said no. I said, yeah, you got the. This is what people say when the father says no. I said, you got your answer to your istikhara. You made istikhara, right? And you got the answer for istikhara, which the father said, no, move on. Plenty of fish in the sea. Next step, it's not the end of the world, right, brother? Like another brother came today. He asked in the masjid. He came to ask. He invented his own istikhara. He said, Ya Allah, make her. If she's for me, make it good for me. If she's not for me, make her for me. I said that's not the istikhara Rasulullah. Rasulullah said if it's not, Ya Allah, if this is not for me, the second part, turn me away from her and turn her away from me. That's the istikhara. But I said to him, you may be like Majnoon, Layla Majnoon, one of the books is the veracity of these stories, but it's a hikmah maybe that Majnoon went to his father took him to the Kaaba to make dua to take the love of Layla out of his heart. So he went to the Kaaba and grabbed the Kaaba. Ya Allah, increase the love of Layla. So maybe he's one of those guys, even his istikhara he adjusted. He's got to get that. So one brother came before and said the same thing. He said, the father said, I said, what type of father is? Maybe he doesn't understand because he prays 5 times salat in the masjid. So I said, this is his daughter. He prays 5 times salat in the masjid. He's a practicing brother who works and so forth. He's responsible and he's taking responsibility with his girl and he doesn't see you are deserving. I said, you got your answer for your istikhara. Move on. Why are you trying to get going from the window? And just go through like my father said, don't go through the window, go through the front door. This is not going to work. Your grandkids will come up later on and so forth. You got to think much further ahead for that. Anyway, Shah Waliullah says that, rahmullah, commentating these hadiths, اتفق أن صلاة الكسوف sunnah, that it is agreed that the Salatul Kusuf, the eclipse prayer, is sunnah. But there is difference of opinion how it's to be done. Imam Shafi rahmullah said that you pray 2 rakats. In every rakat there's 2 qiyams and 2 ruku's, as is narration. Imam Hanifa rahmullah said that you pray 2 rakats like all other prayers, because Imam Hanifa brings all the other salats. In all the salat there's no such thing as a 2 rakat, 2 ruku salat. So he has an interpretation for this and said it's just a long salat. Although both agree that it should be done, it's a sunnah to do that. The sifat, the description of the prayer of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam of istisqa, the rain salat. Imam Malik narrated from Abdullah bin Abi Bakr bin Amr bin Hazm that he heard Abbad bin Tamim saying that I heard Abdullah bin Zayd al-Mazini saying that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out to the musalla. Musalla refers to not like a musalla like we have musallas in the airport and shopping centers. Musalla means the Eid-gah. In our country we have like Eid-gah in the subcontinent, the Eid grounds, like a maidan. You don't pray the Eid in the masajid. Rasulullah prayed the Eid outside. He prayed in like a big field. So where's the Eid grounds? It's if you go in Masjid Nabawi, outside of the courtyard, on the right side of the courtyard, that's the Eid grounds. Where istisqa, rain, this was prayed there. And that's where Masjid al-Ghamama is. So if you're facing the Qibla from the front of Masjid Nabawi, then imagine facing, we go to the far right and you see Masjid Abu Bakr and Masjid Ghamama. Ghamama means like dense clouds. So that's where Rasulullah made istisqa, and then the dense cloud formed and rain fell into Madinah Munawwarra. So that's where he went, and then he changed his hawal rida, that he turned his rida from left to right. So this is a physical expression of asking Allah to change the condition, that Allah changed. So you take the shawl from this side and from that side, you turn it over like that. But it's like a physical expression. Ya Allah, as you make the drought into rain, like you change the condition, right? So, and he did this while facing the Qibla. Yahya says, قال Yahya, Imam Malik was asked about the Salat Istisqa, that how is it? He said 2 rakats. He prays 2 rakat, then he makes a khutbah, and standing he makes dua facing the Qibla. and he yuhawwilu rida'ahu, then he turns his rida over when he facing the qibla, and he makes the 2 rakats are prayed loudly, like Jummah, like with the qira'ah is loudly. And then he وَإِذَا حَوَّلَ الْإِمَامُ رِضَاءَهُ جَعَلَ الَّذِي عَلَى يَمِينِهِ. So he's just explaining that take the right side and put it on the left side, and the you flip it over basically. So and then and he does this while facing the qibla, and the people are sitting while he's doing this. Imam Shah Waliullah explaining this, he said Imam Shafi'i Rahimahullah is upon this, that Salat al-Istisqa, the rain, seeking of rain prayer, is like Salat al-Eid, and he makes takbir in the first 7 times, other than the opening takbir, and makes in the second rakat 5 additional takbir. It's like takbir, the takbirat of Eid Salat. And then he stands and gives khutbah, 2 khutbahs, and he turns the shawl over. Imam Hanifa Rahimahullah said that he does not pray but makes dua. There's no salat, but he makes dua. Wallahu alam. The dua to make at the time of istisqa, Imam Malik has narrated. So this is because Muwatta Imam Malik, this collection of hadith Imam Malik. Why Imam Malik's books are so important? Some brothers might not have been here. Imam Malik's book is important because all hadith books are in the orbit. One of the biggest criticism, like people, the munkar hadith, the rejectors of hadith. This is one of the biggest proofs. This book is like this existence, and what it's because it's so early on in Islam that you have the scholarship of a city, not any city, Madinah Munawwarra, and the children, grandchildren, freed slaves, and they verified this book. It's the Fiqh of Madinah Munawwarra. Why that's important? Those that attack that, like the people are just making hadith up and they're just practicing from hadith and they're not following the Quran. It's actually it refutes them, because they will attack Imam Bukhari. That Imam came from Uzbekistan, Bukhara, and then he's telling us hadith, No, but if you look at everything in Sahih Bukhari and everything in Sahih Muslim and all the books, they're in the orbit of, they're not too far off. There's different narrations, but the meanings and purport and everything of what's in those books that came after, because Sahaba spread and the Tabi'een spread, and they went and collected other narrations from around the world. Imam Malik stayed in Madinah Munawwarra the whole time. So, and those collection hadiths, there's nothing in it that you can say that Imam Bukhari is coming up with a new Sharia or a new understanding of Deen. So everything after Imam Malik is already, you see, they say it's in the orbit of the Muwatta Imam Malik, the book, which 70 ulama of Madinah Munawwarra, you're talking about the 2nd generation. They verified and they signed off on it, that this is the fiqh of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Despite that, Imam Malik did not, even the Khalifa offered that this would be made like the official state, because it's a fiqh book and a hadith book, that we will make this like the official. He said no, because Sahaba didn't travel so far, and he didn't collect all the narration. He could have made his book the official state school and so forth, but he didn't, because he understood that the hadiths are much more than this, and the people are spreading other people, and that happened later on. But just as a point, that this book in itself is an amazing refutation for the people, because corroboration and a large amount of people, you cannot fake it. You cannot bring, try keeping a secret between 5 people. 2 people might be able to. But once you make a WhatsApp group and there's 5 of you, somehow it leaks out. The whole world will find out eventually. Make it 10 people, 20 people, 70 people, and 70 ulama are going to agree. Ulama, they have so much ikhtilaf, they have so many viewpoints. The 70 of Madinah Munawwarra, they all agree that this is the correct representation of the fiqh of Madinah Munawwarra, that Imam Malik and the riwayat. So Imam Shah Waliullah says, we can disagree with Shah Waliullah's interpretations, but we cannot disagree with his narrations, because of where he is and who corroborated as well. Imam Malik narrated this dua of istisqa, the rain prayer. He narrated from Yahya bin Sa'id and from Amr bin Shu'aib that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you look at the chain, it's like 2 or 3 people between Imam. Most of them are freed slaves, Sahaba radiallahu anhum, or the Tabi'een, Tabi'een, children, grandchildren of Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Right? So because when it rained, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he did the Salatu Istisqa, he said, Allahumma asqi ibadaka wa habib, Allah quench, like by rain, like provide rain to your slaves and your creatures, your animals, the beasts and animals, and spread your rahmah and bring and make life to the land that is. Allahumma asqi ibadaka wa bahimataka wa anshur rahmataka wahi baladaka al-mayyit. That spread your rahmah and give life to your land that is dead. So meaning dua of istisqa. So this is the dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made. My mother was mentioning to me, because they're farmers, so when we were children, that and in istisqa you're supposed to go out in you're not supposed to put itar on, and you're not supposed to put like your nicest clothes. You're supposed to show your faqr and your neediness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you're begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you take the children out as well, because they're masoom, like you bring them for dua as well. So she said that my mom was saying is like when it didn't rain for a long time, then we used to go out. Our father was an alim, village imam, so because they used to go out and make istisqa, and then because we would see clouds on the horizon, like after istisqa. This is a personal experience. So, أنزل القرآن على 7 أحرف. Imam Malik narrated from Shihab, narrated from Urwa bin Zubayr, who narrated from Abdurrahman ibn Qari, that he said, I heard Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu saying to Hisham bin Hakim bin Hizam, he was reading the Surah Furqan, other than what he used to read upon. And Rasulullah وَكَانَ رَسُولُ هُوَ الَّذِي أَقْرَأ, and Rasulullah taught me the Quran. So now he's reading Quran, Surah Furqan, a different way. And I learned it from Rasulullah, and he said that he like basically grabbed him by he put his shawl around him and like arrested him and brought him to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya Rasulullah, I heard the Quran, he's reading Furqan other than what you've taught me, that what I read. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, release him. And then he said, read. And he read surah, and Rasulullah heard it, and he said, that's how it was revealed. Then he said, you read. And I read it, and he said, this was how it was revealed. That this Quran has been revealed in 7 ahruf. Literally means 7 letters, but ahruf is like 7, you could say accent, or 7 ways. The same Quran, even though it's recited differently. There's a whole discussion about this. What does it mean, like the Quran is in 7 different modes and so forth. It's 7 different ways, or 7 different lahjas can be. Some say it's 7 different lahjas. Others say that no, Quran is 1, and these are 6 different ways according to the tribes of the Arabs, how they used to recite it. Because they had slightly different accents. And the actual Quran is 1. Or that within the Quran there's a variation. It doesn't change the meaning, it's a slightly different way of reciting. There's a big discussion about this. So he said that Shah Waliullah said the most dominant view is that when we say about the ahruf, these 7 different ways of reading the Quran, is the way that you fulfill idgham, how you combine letters, or where you do imala or not. Imala is a certain way, part of the Quran they recite a certain way. And others say no, that it means the one thing. So he's giving many examples of it. What does it mean? And not to confuse this with the 7 modes of recitation, the qira'at as well. Anyway, the point being that the Quran is revealed on these, and these are things. But the Quran ultimately now is the Mus'haf of Usman radiallahu anhu that's set. So there's only one. It's basically the accent of the Quraysh, and the Mus'haf of Usman radiallahu anhu. Every Quran that is in the world has to match the Mus'haf of Usman radiallahu anhu. This was standardized so that people started to confuse and mix up things, and so then it was standardized to one standard way of reading the time of Usman. That's why I called it Mus'haf of Usman radiallahu anhu. This chapter is on ta'ahud al-Quran, protecting, preserving after you memorized it. Imam Malik narrated from Nafi, who narrated from Abdullah bin Umar, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. So this narration is from Imam Nafi. Nafi is a freed slave of Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu. One of the Imams of Tabi'een is a freed slave of Sahabi radiallahu anhu, Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab's son. So you have Malik from a Tabi'i, Nafi who's from a Sahabi, and who said from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إنما مثل الصاحب القرآن كمثل صاحب الإبل المعلقة إن عاهد عليها أمسك وإن أطلقها ذهبت. That the example of the one Sahib al-Quran, talking about the half of the Quran, the one who's memorized the Quran, is like the person who has a tied up camel. If he protects it, then it will stay with him. If he lets it go, meaning gets out of the rope, it will escape and it will go. So the person who's memorized the Quran, now there's a duty to make sure that he keeps it, because he'll forget it. And it's happened. We have in Melbourne many things. So people ask about the kids, they wanted to be half of the Quran. So it's a 10-year project. The Hifz is like 3 years. You need another, or 4 years. You need 5-6 years for them to routine that they will never forget the Quran. So you have to be like on top of them. Like you can't say like my child he became hafiz. We have sadly examples 12 and they forgot nearly the most of the Quran. And it's like so much effort was made and now got wasted. So after that, you have to have a routine for them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, especially in Ramadan, that make sure that they don't forget the Quran. Some hafiz like very good memories, and there's a joke. There's a Ramadani, Shabani. So Shaban is the one who reads the whole year, Ramadan he only reads in Ramadan. And he's proud of it. He's only reading the Quran and never forget. Which is not a good thing. It's not a good thing to be proud that you never read the Quran. But some have a good memory like that, but